share something about research and our research culture, as well as our research mission and our research emphasis and why we need to do research. And I think that I will just give you some aspects of at SingHealth why we believe in research. I think the first thing is, why do we need to do research? I mean, all of us, you're trained to be doctors. I'm a doctor myself, and 20 years ago, all of us were focused on clinical care, and we all want to be good clinicians, and I think that's still the main bulk of what we aim to be. But I think I'll share with you some of the thoughts about our culture here and why we think it's important for research. I think the first thing you'll know is that research is really about trying to do better for our patients over time. What you are learning now is really built on many of the research that's been done in the past, and we want to continue to do better. And when we start looking at it, we think that better research will lead to better doctors, and it will lead to better outcomes and overall better healthcare. So that's our research philosophy between them. We now know that there's a bit of a gap between science and clinical care, between what is going on in research and what patients are expecting. And I think that this aspect of research in SingHealth is what we value, which is translational research. So we like our clinicians to understand the importance of research. Not necessarily everyone, we want them to be clinician scientists, but give opportunities for people who want to become clinician scientists. But we want all our doctors to understand why we need research embedded in our hospitals. Because we think that research should not be in a distant place in the lab without it being impacting on our patients. Right? So that's our philosophy for that. I think research culture in SingHealth allows us to have a better ecosystem, and you learn to work with more people. You learn to be part of a team. You learn to manage people, research staff. You learn to be able to collaborate rather than just being individual doctors. So we think that research allows us to be able to do that. So that's one of the philosophies of research here. I want to talk a little bit about how do we support research, because some people ask me, it's research, can I do my research during my early residency? And I think the answer is that it will be quite difficult, but as you move up the residency program and you get interested in research, we offer several important opportunities that I think are important differentiating factors. The first thing is that, as I mentioned already, we are very clear in our mission that SingHealth is not just a hospital. It's not just for clinical care. We have a serious understanding and emphasis on teaching, on research, in addition to clinical care. And we have made significant efforts in trying to achieve this academic medicine mission. We have strongly partnered with Duke NUS because it gives, in our campus now, a major biomedical academic partner and a university that allows us to be able to interact so that you have in SingHealth, in the SGH, in the surrounding hospitals now, an ability to feel like you're part of a university campus. Some of you, I think you know where you're studying, and it is mostly related to a university campus. So we're going to give that kind of feeling here in SingHealth. We have started many programs that look at enhancing the support for clinicians wanting to do research. And these are just listing some of the things there. So we will help you with biostatistics. We will give you guidance on how do you write a grant, how do you get some early pilot data. We will link you up with laboratory science so that you can say, if I want to measure something, how do I measure it? Who do I approach? How much does it cost? So all these kind of things, and even clinical and behavioral assessment, which means that how do you design survey, questionnaire. So we have enhanced the whole supporting infrastructure for research. So if you want to do research in SingHealth, EMRI, which is the Academic Medicine Research Institute, supports clinicians who says, I need help in doing clinical research. I think we have also built infrastructure. You see where we are standing here, and there are opportunities for you to work, in fact, in the lab here if you want to, and to find a research mentor, and the research mentor will help you set up a lab and give you opportunities for you to do that. So I think we have built a whole ecosystem if you are keen about doing some research. And the last thing I think is quite important is this whole idea about pathways. We now know that there are many different roles. It's all part of the team. And you can be a clinician educator, an investigator, a clinician scientist, even an administrator. And that these roles can change over time. So we don't confine people towards, you just want to be a clinician scientist, but you can't go back to being a clinician. Neither do we say, hey, you're a clinician educator, why you can't become a clinician scientist. And we think that the evolving roles are part of the ways in which we are able to do that. And one of the things that we've done is therefore to kind of make sure that the career pathways are fairly and transparently assessed by everyone, right? So, for example, in the clinician scientist track, we have made it as attractive as a pure clinician track. Now, this is not something simple to do, but we have given really significant thoughts about making that pathway attractive so that people feel that if I want to be a clinician scientist, I have a home here, I have a career here, and I do not kind of lose out in terms of becoming, of having a fulfilling career. And we have many different aspects, and we try even to make sure that the pay is competitive to a clinician, for people who want to be a clinician scientist, as well as transparent and fair assessment, so that you're not penalized if you want to be a clinician scientist. So these are really some of the things at SingHealth that we have made over the many years, actually, to try to support research here. So maybe I'll stop here and maybe take a couple of questions from some of you who might have questions either on research or other aspects. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, Prof. I understand from your website, your clinician scientist page, that there are only certain specialties that are open to this track. Are you all looking to expand it to other specialties as well?
No, I don't think we don't limit specialities. Being a clinician scientist is a few things. So the first is that the tracks are open to every single speciality. But certain specialities obviously have to develop further others, right? And some of it is organic. So we don't institute that each institution should have a clinician scientist program. We want people to develop. And so there are cancer, for example, are very well established. And so it's easy to do research there and be a clinician scientist there because there are many well-funded programs. But that doesn't mean that anyone joining any specialty does not get help from SingHealth. As I mentioned, it is across all specialties, and we are now very aligned with HR, with the academic pathway, so that those people who are interested in this kind of track will not only have a clinical appointment. Over time, as a consultant and so forth, you will get an academic appointment under the Duke NUS system that allows you to access that kind of academic aspects. But it's just a different timing and different aspects of the institution. Any other questions? Some of you, I'm sure, are doing research in UK and in your hospitals and so forth. And I encourage that. I think you should have that exposure.
As part of this track, is a PhD necessary?
So some people ask me, do I want to do a PhD? I think a PhD is a very personal decision, and the general advice is that number one, you should have some taste for research before you even embark on a PhD. Do not jump into a PhD early on. So I did my PhD myself because I did a master's first, and actually I didn't think about doing a master's except that I thought maybe I'll just spend a year away doing some research, right? I didn't think that I would go into that track. But if you enjoy some research elective time, and you end up doing a master's or some papers and so forth, and then you can at that point in time say, do I want to do a PhD, right? So what we think about PhD, I think Singapore overall will need more MD PhDs. This is a trend in most of the best centers, and increasingly we're encouraging MD PhDs people here. I think that they are the ones that really can address both the science as well as the clinical care problem. And I'll tell you, some of the initiatives we have done is that, yes, you do a PhD, it's longer, but we are now looking at really diversified doctor population, right? It doesn't mean that everyone comes in at 24 or 25 and then you progress to become in the clinical track on that time scale. We will look at individualized achievements and career tracks. So if you've done well, you could get, very quickly, you can get academic appointments that progresses your appointment. So it's not one size fits all program. So those who are interested in PhD, I think, you do need to think about it, but speak to mentors, speak to other people. I'm happy to, if you want to speak to me, I'm happy to do that, answer emails and so forth. Any other questions on research or here or back in UK or other things?